Right. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this month's GOVChats webinar. My name is Erica Rowe, and I'm with the Georgia Technology Authority's Office of Digital Services and Solutions. If you didn't know, this week is Digital Inclusion Week. It's an annual week of awareness, recognition, and celebration of digital inclusion initiatives in government. So for our GovChat session today, we'll be learning more about the work needed to educate and bring awareness to expanding broadband access and digital upskilling for Georgians at the state and county levels. Before we begin, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items with you. If you have questions today, please use the Q&A function. It's at the bottom of your webinar screen. That's just so we have them all in one place, and we want to make sure we don't miss out on any questions that you have for us. And at the end of the webinar, I'll also be putting up a QR code. It's going to take you to a survey that you can fill out for feedback. We greatly appreciate it if you just take a few minutes to respond to it. It helps us to improve future GovChats with topics that you want to hear about and just timely information. So for today, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speakers to you. We have Oneisha Freeman Rojales. She's the Digital Connectivity Manager at Georgia Technology Authority, and she's also the co-chair for Digital Inclusion Week. We're also happy to have Takiyah J. LGCIO. She's the Digital Equity Administrator at the Department of Information Technology of Clayton County Board of Commissioners, and she's also a digital inclusion trailblazer. I'm going to hand it over to our speakers, and they can get started with their discussion today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm so happy, of course, to be here and to be a part of this great conversation to kick off the second day of Digital Inclusion Week here in the state of Georgia, but across our country. Exciting things are going on, and we want to kind of set the stage as we have this discussion about, digital inclusion. We're really talking about sort of three key things. First, the digital divide. Many of us have heard the term digital divide, and the digital divide is the issue that we are trying to address, whereas digital connectivity is the goal that we are trying to reach. It is the concept of everybody not necessarily having the same exact things, but all citizens, regardless of their zip code or economic status, have exactly what they need to participate fully in the digital economy. And digital inclusion, that's the work, that's the action, those are the activities that we have to all do, or that we are doing, to ensure that our citizens can participate in the digital economy. And that could look like anything from making sure that folks have access to devices to be able to register for services. But that's also considering the fact that everyone doesn't have a device to be able to register for services. So as we think about how we are including technology as a part of how we better serve the community, considering that those that don't have it, and maybe there are opportunities to provide some additional support aspects for those citizens. It could be anything from a person that's helping them navigate that technology, or it could be the fact that we continue to have backup, like paper versions of registration forms, just in case someone is not able to fill out that online form, or maybe we can call folks and say, hey, do you need help filling this form out? So just considering that everyone doesn't have access, and as access improves, that'll change and we can adjust along the way. So consider digital inclusion the work, the actions that we're going to take to address the digital divide and really realize our vision of digital connectivity. You go to the next slide. So I kind of just went over this. Here's the actual definition. The digital divide is sort of that gap, right, between those that have affordable access skills and they can support to effectively engage, and those that don't. And again, like I was saying before, technology is constantly evolving. And we are all constantly considering ways that, we can integrate technology to make our lives easier. But a lot of folks in our community really may not be able to participate. And we want to make sure we're considering all of those folks that may disproportionately be affected by their lack of access to those tools, that knowledge, and or the internet access as well. You can go to the next slide. So I really wanted to lift this up because this is the vision for the state of Georgia. And I believe every state, regardless of where you may not be in the state of Georgia as you're listening to this message, but all the states have a digital connectivity plan. It may be called the digital opportunity plan. It may be called the digital equity plan. But all the states have one. And in everyone's plan, there is a vision for what we call digital connectivity, that vision that we want to address. So I just wanted to lift up that our vision in the state of Georgia for a fully connected Georgia is to ensure that every Georgian has reliable, affordable access to the internet and the necessary tools and skills to unlock, that's my favorite part of this vision statement, to unlock opportunities for education advancement, economic success, improve health, and strengthen social ties. This will create a more connected, resilient, and prosperous community and cultivate an environment across our state where our workforce can thrive, our infrastructure can support growth, and our industries can continue to lead the way. Next slide. So when we're talking about that action, those activities, there's kind of 5 key areas that we really want to look at. One of those areas is, of course, the actual infrastructure of internet, so that it's not just there, it's not just something, but it's affordable, it's high speed, it's reliable. That's that robust, right? Robust, it's high speed and reliable, and it's able to handle and meet the needs of that family or that business or that community as they are connected to the internet. Then we are looking at the devices. Those devices should be internet enabled, so they also meet the needs of the end user. So does that mean everybody needs a laptop? No, it means that it depends on the person and their specific needs. And in some cases, a laptop might be the best tool. In some cases, it could be a desktop or a tablet. We are looking at large screen devices, most ideally, because we are talking about being able to fill out forms, download things, and maybe apply for jobs or apply for school and things of that nature, or services. And a lot of times, unfortunately, those things just may not be available on a mobile device. So we are, I would say, looking at large screen devices for the most part when we talk about internet enabled devices. 3 is access to digital literacy training. Digital literacy, digital skills is kind of used interchangeably. So this is the opportunity for a community member who may not feel as comfortable with technology to be able to go in their local, access training or learning opportunities in their local community. It could be an in-person class, or it could be something that's self-directed, meaning that class is access online on a website. It could be YouTube. It could be a live stream training. It could be a meeting where it's a Zoom training. But being able to get access to teach them not just the foundational basic skills, although a lot of people need that as well, but also even those intermediate and more advanced skills training. So many of our the education industry is definitely going digital in many ways, and we want to make sure that folks have access to all those different things. And then quality technical support really kind of it kind of lands in 2 buckets. Part of the quality technical support is about those devices that we mentioned in number 2. So being able to actually support those devices. If they get a virus, if the operating system needs to be updated, making sure that there's different peripherals that might be needed, such as a mouse might be needed for the computer, or a camera, or other types of technology to improve accessibility for that device. So that's kind of part of where that technical support comes in at. But it also comes in at with like help desk support. So maybe a person might need help with getting an email address or signing up for a class. That could also be considered technical support as well. And that fifth aspect is the applications and online content really designed to encourage self-sufficiency, participation, and collaboration. And that is making sure that regardless of somebody's abilities, that the online services still supports their needs. In particular, I know GTA's digital services really prioritizes accessibility when it comes to, and is a guide for helping our community members best understand, how to design online content to meet the needs of all learners. And I'm going to say a number 6 here that's not on the slide, and that's being able to protect yourself online. So the safety and security of our citizens is of the utmost importance. And we want to make sure that when we talk about this work, we are also lifting up the fact that everybody is vulnerable, as bad actors are out there. And we want to really ensure that folks know how to protect themselves, their data, their families, as they navigate in the online space. So that's number 6. It's not on the slide, but if you're taking notes, you can write that down as well. You can go to the next slide.
I think that's it for
That's the last one. Okay, cool. No worries. Thank you so much again. If anybody has any questions about, kind of wanting, again, to set the stage for this work, lots of terms out there, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is we want to ensure that all folks can access the internet safely, securely, and they can be able to meet the needs that they specifically have with the tools that they need. So, and participate in the digital economy as things continue to go digital. So we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit, and I am going to talk and chat a little bit here with Takiyah Thomas of Clayton County. She is the one and only so far, and I hope this will change in the near future. Digital, what is your exact title? Say it one more time for me.
Digital Equity Administrator.
There you go. Digital Equity Administrator at the municipal level, at the county level in the state of Georgia. And so, she and her team and the Board of Commissioners in Clayton County really wanted to prioritize digital connectivity, within their county a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, right, Takiyah? Like how long have you all been in your office?
Well, we officially started July 1st of 2022. So we just passed our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. And it's a perfect timing because as across the nation, in the territories, we, folks are really diving deep into this effort to really build off the momentum that happened during the pandemic, when folks really understood, hey, we aren't able to serve our community members in the way that we thought we could. And we really want to take a look at where those gaps are so we never go back there again.
Right.
And so I am excited to have this conversation with you today. And I think it looks like the screen is kind of popping back and forth. So I'm going to just kind of start with my first question. And, I really said to kind of give those definitions about digital divide and digital connectivity and digital inclusion, really kind of drilling down. But I would love if you could elaborate on your approach to digital connectivity and think about how exactly you balance providing each person their individual needs versus offering the same resources to everyone.
Well, we began with developing a digital equity plan. So we started July 1st, 2022, and maybe around September, October, we began working with the community and stakeholders, and did phone surveys to gather this data that we needed to know where our gaps were. And like you say, everybody's different. Digital equity looks different for everybody. One that might need a laptop, one might need an iPad. So we needed to know what the skills were of our community, if they had devices in the home, if they had internet in the home. Many we found could apply for the ACP program, which is a program that we lost that we hope we get back, to get internet in the home. So that was the approach that we took to know how to begin addressing the problem. And it looks different for everybody. Like you said, we found that 20% of our residents did not subscribe to internet. Many people, they use this. This is their computer. So we increased that some with the ACP benefit. And that's how we addressed the issue.
I'm just curious because I know that you a lot of times do training in Clayton County, and I'm pretty sure you might talk about this a little bit later, but kind of going back to this, you know, you all have your training class, but when you have the class, can you talk about the different types of community members that come to y'all's training classes, and then kind of getting back to how do you sort of meet the needs if you have 20 people in the class, talk a little bit about those different aspects of who those 20 people or so are, and how you all navigate still being able to get through the learning process with those community members.
Well, for one, we keep the classes really small. Clayton County has about 300, almost 300,000 residents. So we're still new, promoting our office and letting people know that we're here to help them. So we keep the classes small, and we serve a lot of our seniors. A lot of our seniors really take advantage of our program. And we have, you know, young adults that attend, and more seasoned adults that are not quite seniors yet. And by keeping it small, we get to learn them and get to know them. And we've been doing a little branding with our little banner and logo, so they know when they see that, that's me and Nigel, because it's just two of us. So I've enjoyed it because we have our regulars that come. They're going to faithfully show up at every community event, and then they tell others. And we all know that word of mouth is the best way to spread information. So keeping it small and really learning them and letting them see that we're here to help them gain the skills that they need to be able to function in this digital world and economy that we have to deal with.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I remember doing these classes, and I might have a person that's 18 in the class, like you said, and then you have your seasoned, more seasoned folks. And what we found is that you sometimes get a different level of expertise. Like you may say, this is a digital skills class in your marketing. You say, these are the 4 or 5 things we're going to learn. But when they get there, especially when there's an incentive, like taking home a computer or being able to get a certificate or something like that, you might get a varying degrees of understanding of the topic. So, you know, have you kind of experienced that before in a class?
Oh yeah, we do. So when we promote the class, say if it's Excel, Microsoft Excel, we'll tell them, you know, the prerequisite is to have at least some fundamental knowledge of Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft Word too, because sometimes, especially with the seniors, they really just want to learn. And we'll get a few seniors in a class, but we'll have other people in the class that have, maybe they work on these platforms at work. So we kind of try to stop it before they even get there with the registrations. Like, this is what we're going to cover in the class. So, you know, have a basic understanding of it if you sign up for this class. So it helps when we kind of tell them on the front end.
Yeah, I've done it where I ask I can say, you know, as you're going through, you find some folks that might be a little bit more advanced learners, and I'll say, help your neighbor. You know, that all of a sudden that person becomes my, like, you know, classroom helper.
Your navigator, yeah.
And they're helping to navigate, helping other people navigate in the course. So thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, I think that part of us kind of discussing this is so that if a community organization or municipality is really looking at standing up these classes, really understand that community members want to learn, especially our seniors, our aging individuals. They really want to learn. They don't want to be left out.
Mhm.
And even some of our youth, don't quite have the professional digital skills that they need. And so if you wanted to start a class like these that we're talking about, being very clear as to, sort of the learning levels, and is it a beginner class, intermediate? And even if you say that, people still might come anyway.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
while you're there, having some helpers in the room, maybe volunteers, 1 or 2 extra people in a room of maybe about 10 or 15 is so helpful. Because if the trainer is training by themselves and there's nobody there to help, and then you do have some of those beginner learners, it could really affect like the pace of the class. And so
Right.
just something to keep in mind if you
Yeah.
are looking to do that, really think about the human resources that you
Mhm.
need to really have an effective digital skills class. And that helps you both meet the needs of those individual learners and those learners that are, and sort of still get to the end result of whatever your class is trying to do. But you got to be flexible, no
Oh,
matter
oh
what.
yeah. And it helps having an associate with me. So when one is talking, the other one is, I don't see what you see on the screen, so they can go and catch them up. And then sometimes you have to wait, but yeah, it's been fun.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Um, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to kind of shift to another question about partnerships. So let's talk a little bit about partnerships. So partnerships are key to building digital connectivity initiatives. How are you leveraging partnerships in Clayton County to promote digital, your programs, your skills classes, and the different programs that you have? What type, and tell me about the types of partnerships that you actually have.
Okay, well, I'll just say, and I think you just said it, partnerships are like, we can't do this without partners. Me and Nigel cannot do this by ourselves. We have to have partners. So we start internally with the libraries, who are the real, digital connectivity kings and queens around the country, because they have been doing digital equity work before we even called it digital equity. So we partner with our libraries, our senior services, who have all kind of programming for seniors. So we include like our digital skills training in all of the programs that they already offer them. And then we partner with Parks and Rec, because that's where you can reach the younger crowd. And then it helps us to have like space to go and do our events. So by partnering internally with our already, colleagues in the county, that helps us immensely. And then we go outside of the county, we deal with the cities. Clayton County has 7 cities. One of the cities, Forest Park, we go monthly to their senior center. So they're separate from our Clayton County Senior Services. So we train once a month, and we have a regular 10 people that show up every month faithfully. So they get a lot of value out of the training. So we work with the cities, and with this recent grant application, 2 more cities, we're going to be working more with them, Jonesboro and Lovejoy. So hopefully, in the next year or two, all 7 cities, we will all be like working together to address the digital divide. So we got the cities, we got the internal community service organizations. We try to tap into their events that they have to, make our presence known in the community. And then, of course, we have the local and national nonprofits. How could we do devices without our nonprofits, right? So we have about 4 that we work with over the past 2 years. Inspire EDU has been amazing at providing learning workshops and devices to our families. CompuDoc, they're going to be at our event this weekend in a large way. So we're looking forward to that, CompuDoc. We work with everyone on to provide some digital literacy and devices to residents. And then Human IT, that's our more recent collaboration. So we're excited about working with them. So we have some great partners, and it has made my job a lot easier, just tapping into these other resources. And I always say it's enough to share. Like, we can all do this together. You take a piece of the pie, I'll take a piece of the pie. Oneisha, you get a piece too. You can get 2 pieces.
I'll take 2 pieces. And maybe a little extra on the side, so I appreciate that. No, I love that because like you said, y'all can't do it by yourselves, and I'm really interesting. It's really interesting how you're not just looking at the internal partners that you have, like not just the other agencies of Clayton County, but also your community organizations that serve Clayton County or serve the specific needs of those people in the county. And because each of these organizations have a different mission, right? But if you sort of bring your services together, just imagine how much more you can do. To stand up a full, device distribution program could be extremely costly for the county to do.
Right.
But the facts that you just named is you have 4 or 5 organizations that's their mission. That's what they do every day. And they would love to work in concert with you all. And so that's great. I think you guys can be a mentor for some of our other cities and counties, not just in Georgia, but across the country about, how does that work and how long does it take? It takes sometimes a couple extra emails. You got to kind of explain like how we started this conversation with this is the digital divide, this is digital inclusion. She's probably, I'm assuming you've had to start those conversations with some of the partners that way, right? Because they don't know or understand they may not know that this is going on and how they can be involved in it. And then it takes a couple emails, a couple meetings before you can kind of get there to really fully see the partnership bloom. And then after the first event, whether you started big or small, that's when people kind of start to lock in because the community members will express how grateful, and I've been to y'all's events and, seeing how grateful the community members are and how, the things that they say, how it makes a difference in their lives, makes all the partnerships kind of lock in even more, I think, to hear, from those community members. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Is there any particular story that maybe you could share of a community member that really benefited from a partnership that you all had, maybe with the libraries or maybe through the devices or other training opportunities?
Well, the first one that pops up in my mind, this was probably late 2022, early 2023, we did, it was ACP. It was during the ACP. I was thinking it was a laptop, but it was ACP. So we were at the library and it was a young Latina student, and she came to sign up for ACP. She told me that she has a laptop, but she does not have internet at home. And it blew my mind that she never even heard of ACP. So she had seen it somewhere, maybe on social media or the county's website. So she came because she said she uses her hotspot on her cell phone when she gets home. At school, she has internet, but when she gets home, she has to connect to the hotspot. And that can be spotty because you're on like a cell phone service at home and we don't know what, the connection is like in her home. So that almost like brought me to tears because some like us, we have internet at home. We have a laptop at home. So we never even think about the people that don't have it. So that really touched me that just by her signing up for that ACP, she qualified. Now she can have internet at home. She don't have to use her hotspot. And I don't know if she have to pay for that hotspot or maybe it's free. I'm not sure. But like that was a story that really stood out to me that I kind of tell often. So, we didn't do anything special for her. We just were there to let her know about this program. She signed up, she qualified, and now she can interact better online.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think what's so key to what you just said is that it goes back to this work being meet the needs of the person, meeting that specific need. Because you said she had the wherewithal to ask. She's seeking out the resource herself. She had the device. She had an alternative method that she was using in the meantime, but she understood that really to get to take my work and my what I'm trying to do to the next level. Do you know what she was trying? Was she in school or she was trying to?
Yeah, she was a college student at Clayton State.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so incredible, just that lack of connectivity, how it's affecting her being a college student and trying to, get her education. So that's now I see why you tell that story a lot, because
Yeah. And I think, imagine if because some cell phone services, you have to pay to have a hotspot. What if she didn't have a hotspot? She could only do her work when she's at school, or maybe if she went like, Starbucks, McDonald's, wherever you can go to tap into some Wi-Fi. So yeah, that saved her some time and
yeah,
money and being out. And that was around like when COVID, we were just coming back from COVID. Now you could stay at home in the comfort of your own home and get onto the internet.
yeah, that's incredible. I would love to hear an update if ever you run into that young lady again. On the partnership side, when it comes to the state, we, as a digital connectivity manager, we're really, and on the broadband team, the statewide broadband team, we're really, tasked with the efforts of expanding internet access across our state, as well as addressing many of the things that Takiyah and her team are accomplishing in the county. And when we think about partnerships, it is the cornerstone of our statewide strategy as well. And so we have different initiatives that we're doing in order to collaborate with local governments, with the libraries, of the library system, the schools, and our private sector partners to really bridge the digital divide. And so we use this term called the state collective. It's used to describe the cooperative involvement of the state, local government, nonprofits, community groups, private sector partners, and community members, because they have to also be involved in co-creating solutions to address the gaps that we're, first of all, to understand the gaps, and then to address them, we involve our community members as well. And it's not a formal entity or anything like that. It's just a descriptor of what we see from a state perspective as partnerships, and what is it going to take to really address the ongoing digital connectivity gaps that may exist as time goes on. So wanted to just share that from the state perspective. We're, really thinking about where are all of our statewide connectivity points. So computer labs to digital navigators or community navigator programs, to our action agencies and our family connection partnerships, our extension centers, our HBCUs, our church community, our faith-based community across our state, our online educational institutions, everything in between. We're all really kind of wanting to map that out so that we can see where are these connectivity points, how can we partner and connect and pull various resources together to really address the needs of our community members, exactly, where they are needed, where it is needed. Okay, shifting gears here. How are you securing funding for your digital connectivity programs? And are there any particular funding streams or opportunities that you'd like to highlight for others to either contribute to the effort, and it could be in kind or financial, or time, because time is very precious as well, when it comes to really funding and supporting your programs?
Well, currently, it's supported by the general fund of the Clayton County, government arm. We had some ARPA funding in the beginning. Our office started through ARPA, and then it transitioned into the general fund. And here recently, about 2.5 weeks ago, I was thinking about it yesterday, like, wow, it's been 2 weeks since that grant was submitted. But we applied for the NTIA Digital Equity Competitive Grant, which was this massive amount of funding to split across all of the states. And we applied for about $10 million. So the max was $12 million. So we're hopeful that we'll get a call or email in the next month or so, because that will be massive for Clayton County. We'll be able to extend our programs. We'll be able to offer more training. We'll be able to hire more people, because we've been working on a 1 to 2 man crew for the past 2 years. So we'll have digital navigators that can work directly with our public and and do some real fun things that I guess I won't, what do they say, jinx it. So I won't talk about everything, but we have some really great programming that we have planned for if we get the funding. If not, we'll just keep going like we're going, and hopefully over time we can be allotted more funding through our general fund to increase our programming. But I think we might get it, but we'll see. I don't know, but we'll see. And then there'll be other opportunities like through your office, through the state office, where we can hopefully tap into some of those resources. So we'll see as those come about. We'll see how
Yeah.
we do.
Listen, I totally understand that. And I think, as we're kind of coming on the heels of some of those specific COVID related funding opportunities, and we're looking towards the future, yes, for sure, the state is right now, working on our BEAD program. So that's broadband equity, access, and deployment. The state was allocated 1.3 billion. The state of Georgia was allocated $1.3 billion to expand broadband infrastructure in our state. If you are in other states, your state also received an allocation for the BEAD program, and to expand broadband infrastructure in your state, and your state more than likely also has plans exactly how they will utilize those funds. So let's start with the fact that there are billions of dollars being allocated towards the infrastructure expansion, which is key to all of this, is the foundation to a lot of this. And then at the same time, there is the Digital Equity Act of 2021 programs, which is the digital equity programs nationally, that has allocated various different amounts to each state, territory, and I believe the tribes are able to access those funds as well. And that is allowing each state to determine how they want to implement their various state digital equity plans. And it's available for folks to kind of see and read exactly what your state is wanting to do and how they want to address the digital divide from the infrastructure perspective, as well as from the skills, devices, and general access and adoption of the internet and technology services perspective. So lots of planning has been happening for the past 2 years. And that is so that we can, then allocate those funds appropriately. A lot of stakeholder engagement went into creating these plans. We went way all across the state, definitely came to Clayton County and did some work, listening sessions, to hear from community in order to create those plans. And now we're moving into the phase of implementing our plans. So as we move into that implementation phase, funding is then going to then be allocated towards the implementation of various projects. Each state is going to attack this differently. So I'm excited about what the state of Georgia will be doing in relation to supporting access to devices, digital skills, doing targeted outreach, and particularly in places where we have high digital inequities, low broadband access, high poverty. We're really trying to get as granular as possible. So we have a very comprehensive digital connectivity plan. And if you wanted to learn more about it, we'll make sure we put the link in the chat for you to learn more about that. But funding is going to continue, even though I talked about billions of dollars to address this. It might be a once in a lifetime allocation of funds, right? But I think it's really important for us to realize that corporate foundations, community foundations, and various organizations are also understanding that the digital divide is something that is integrated into maybe some of the things that they previously funded. And so I would encourage all organizations that are leaders or community members that are in this, listening to this conversation, to really look out for on the federal level and on the state level, and in the philanthropic community, opportunities to not, when we say address the digital divide, we could also be talking about other aspects of science, technology, engineering, and math when it comes to youth education, exposure and exploration opportunities for those individuals. Workforce is a huge part of this work as well. So we think about not only the jobs that are going to be available as broadband expands across your state, but also job opportunities that are just going to be increasing because now internet is in your community. So someone who could previously work from home, someone who can previously work remote can now maybe tap into opportunities that are outside of their community and outside of their state.
Right.
So, the changes, the opportunities are going to be unlocked slowly along the way, but as the funding continues. But here's the key to the funding. The leaders of that community have to be willing to tap into the funding opportunities.
Mm.
And Takiyah, I know your experience applying for your first federal grant program was challenging.
Mm.
It was a labor of love because you love the people of Clayton County. So, if you had any advice, I'm putting you on the spot again. If you had any advice for someone, an organization that was, looking to throw their name in the hat in preparation for federal funding, state funding, or any other funding for that matter, since you just went through this fire, talk a little bit about if you had any advice for folks, what would you give them?
The first thing I would say, especially with federal grants, and like you said, this is my first for real grant. And I would start planning as soon as you learn about this grant, if whatever information you can gather on it about what's going to be required, which it'll be limited until the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, is released. But as soon as you get it, you got to start working on it, because you probably remember I was still in the training room training folks when I should have been, doing grant stuff. But I don't know, maybe I didn't think that it was going to be the beast that it was, beast in a good way. I would have started much earlier. And as soon as that NOFO drops, you start working, because you only got 60 days. In the case of this grant, I think it was 60 days. And that 60 days will go by really fast. And you have to depend on all of your partners and stakeholders, and some are linked. We had one partner that is providing devices to residents that will take a training program. So I got to find out from the training program how many people are we going to train before I can let the device partner know how many devices we need. So it's all intermingled, and you really are playing a humongous administrative assistant type job, collaborating and getting people together and getting the forms back, and getting their federal numbers, and it's a lot. So I would just say start early and write down what you need to do and check it off as you go, and take it in chunks. Because I think I kind of was all over the place with that grant. I would be working on something and then remember something and do that and then come back. So I started just creating a list. My notes in my cell phone and my calendar reminders was a saving grace. And I had a little help along the way. But yeah, and you need as many hands as you can to help you. You can't do it by yourself. Yeah, that's insane.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. And I just, wanted to say that because as these opportunities come, because you kind of jump on it, depending on what at the point that you find out about it would depend on what the lift is going to be.
Right.
Because they, with the particular opportunity that you all applied for, 30 days before the NOFO came out, there was a sort of, hey, know before you apply email, right? And I was able to share that out with partners or with people in the community. But, I don't think you all realize what you were going to be needing to do. You might not you specifically, but people might not have taken action when they saw that initial email that came out 30 days before the NOFO. But that could have given you a 30-day runway to get prepared for the application. So I really want to just be clear that these types of grant opportunities is a lot of funding, and it is going to be coming, but the administrative part of it is something that you really do have to consider now. If
Right.
you know that you want to apply, get your ducks in a row, get your
Mhm.
have this conversation with your partners, break down the 3 things that we broke down at the beginning of this conversation, because those are the things you're going to need. Letters of commitment, letters of support, maybe you might need those things. You know, your budgets and things of that nature. That's how you prepare for what's to come, because just because it's out there, you know, the things that you have to do to get it is
Mhm.
something that does take a collaborative, coordinated.
Right.
And if you've never done that before, it can be challenging. Now, the good thing is that there are some organizations that can help you prepare and write and do that are going to be doing more technical assistance around some of these grant opportunities that are to come. So, you know, also take advantage of those technical assistance, those organizations that provide technical assistance, because they'll be key to getting you through it as well. Unfortunately, I don't know if there was a lot of technical assistance for this one, but
Mhm.
in the future, I know,
Mhm.
I believe that there will be. So I know we're going to be at time here pretty soon. So I know there's a few questions in the chat. I just want to give you an opportunity, Takiyah, to talk about, we start off, it is Digital Inclusion Week. It is a special time across our nation to really bring awareness to the great work and the boots on the ground organizations that are doing work in our community. I want to give you a chance to start to chat, to share a little more about, thank you for putting that link in the chat. To learn more about Digital Inclusion Week, you can see the link in the chat. But Takiyah, tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on. What are some of the initiatives that you're doing this week, and what are you super excited about?
Okay, well, I'm most excited about the block party on Saturday, but during the week we've had one financial literacy training. Today we have a cybersecurity training, which I'm excited because a member of our IT department, my division is through the IT department. He's our like cybersecurity operations analyst. He's going to do the training because
Oh,
we have been doing our own digital security training. So that'll be fun, and he's a character, but so it'll be a very lively class. They'll enjoy it. So we have that. And in this webinar today, obviously, we included it as one of our events for Digital Inclusion Week. And then tomorrow, we are partnering with Delta Community Credit Union to provide some more financial literacy, because we feel like, you know, it's financial literacy and we're talking about digital literacy, but they really go hand in hand.
you do.
So you got to know how to operate the app for your, you know, to manage your money online. So the two kind of go together. So we're going to have like a lunch and learn tomorrow, and they'll come out and talk about ways to be, you know, different financial topics. Honestly, I can't even remember what the topic is, but so we'll have that. And then we're going to close out the week. Oh, I got to remember this one. We got lights. So I don't know if you remember the little faux pas that I had last year with lighting up the building teal, because teal is like the Digital Inclusion Week color. So I got garden lights, solar powered garden lights. I was so excited. I stayed at work until it got night so I can see the building turn teal. And as soon as the outside lights of the building came on, boop, no more teal. I was just felt so defeated. So this year I was like, no, we're going to do this different this year. So our building and maintenance department, shout out to our building and maintenance department, they ordered us like some films that go over the light bulbs. So I stayed last night till about 7:45. The lights came on and they were teal, and I was so excited. And that seems so small, but you know, that's just so when people pass our building and see the teal lights, and they know what we've been talking about, it will remind them that, hey, this is Digital Inclusion Week. So that's like a little small thing, but I was really excited about it. And then lastly, the block party. So we have our block party this Saturday on the 12th at our IT building in Jonesboro, Georgia. And we will have several internal partners that'll be setting up tables, and some ISPs that work in the area. Hopefully Oneisha will get to come out and say a few words on the microphone. And then the highlight, we have two highlights actually. One, we're going to do an e-drive through Inspire EDU, our partner that we've been working with from day one. And they're going to set up bins where the community can come out and donate old and unused devices that they're not using. And they will refurbish the devices and redistribute them into communities that need them. So we wanted to not always be on the receiving end from Inspire EDU, because we're always getting laptops from Inspire EDU. So we want to do something for them. Like, let's try to get some of the communities to bring you some devices to support your program. So I'm excited about that, and hopefully we can get a lot of the community, because we know we all got, I know me personally, I have an old XP desktop in my attic that XP was like my favorite operating system. And I have stuff saved on that computer that I don't want to get rid of yet, and it's collecting dust and cobwebs up in the attic. So I know if you're listening and you're in the area and you got some old devices that you need to get rid of, give it a new life and let it be repurposed for someone else. And then the other highlight of the block party is the laptop giveaway. Of course, we got to give away some laptops, right? So we're partnering with CompuDot, and they're going to give out 150 laptops on Saturday. So we're excited about that, and that'll close out our week, and then I'll get to breathe a little bit on Sunday. But hey, it's the nature of the beast, right?
I love that. How do people sign up for any of those opportunities?
Yeah, so they can go to, I think Erica put it in the chat. Yeah, so I have like a general link where that lists all of the events for the week, including the block party. So they can just pick an event. You can register for all of them if you want. With the laptop giveaway, there's actually 2 steps. You register to attend our block party, and you go to the CompuDot website and register. And then they'll send you a code where you can like be confirmed that you're going to pick up a device on the day of the event. So that's how it's in the chat for them to get to that invite.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I would encourage, if you are a municipal leader on this, listening to this GovChat, even if you might not want to sign up for anything, go and check it out. Go and see how they're doing it. Go and meet Takiyah and her team. This is a part of building a relationship. She's super always willing to share how they're, doing one thing or another. And I know that there's some particular aspects of working in a city government, working in county government that I might not know, but she could, share with you about how they're able to get certain things done. So, go check out those events, meet the partners. You may want to bring those partners into your community because a lot of the people that she's named I'm very familiar with, and they're not just only working in Clayton County. They're very much willing to work across the state. It's just a matter of, and CompuDot in particular works in other states as well. And there are Human IT, she mentioned earlier, they work in other states as well. So just thinking about ways that you as an organization could even get value from those for participating in looking at those events. Erica, if you can just pop in, I do want to lift up real quick. We're almost at time, and I know we got questions if you can put in the chat, on the west side of Atlanta at Westside Works, they have a bunch of events going on as well for Digital Inclusion Week. They have a brunch and learn, a digital footprint, a chat GPT and chew that is happening right now, actually. They're having a resume clinic, so many great things going on at the Westside Works. They do workforce development, digital skills training, and a myriad of other things. So shout out to Westside Works and all the great things that they're doing to support digital access. So I know we got questions in the chat. We may not get to all of them. I'm so sorry. But if we can go to 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and if not, we can always follow up.
Of course. So let's see here. We have a couple from Les Thomason. The first one is, how structured is the coordination of digital inclusion efforts between the state government and local governments in the state? Where do responsibilities reside between state and local entities?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. All of this is so new. The state didn't previously have a digital equity digital connectivity program, and so we kind of started with the creation of our statewide digital connectivity plan. I think that's where a lot of it started, because we were able to really share with our local leaders what was going on. We also have a very strong partnership with GMA, the Georgia Municipal Association, and NCCG. The counties and city government, sorry, association. I didn't quite say that right, but they are key to really galvanizing our local leaders and bringing them together. We had recently had a summit with GMA around broadband and digital equity for leaders to come, for local leaders. So we're starting to build those relationships and get everybody on the same page. The future will look like having more local digital connectivity plans. So far, Takiyah, their county has one. There's some counties in North Georgia that are currently working on plans. And so I think having more local plans is something that the state will be working with them, local organizations, local municipalities, to support those local plan creations. Because if we have those plans that are aligned to the state plan, moving forward, things will be a little bit smoother. So I would say those are kind of some ways that we're aligning our works together. We also have talked many with our CIOs of various school districts. We tend to at least share, some of the work that we're doing. So those school district leaders understand this is how the community is affected and will improve over time. The connectivity challenges that they may not see as much inside the school, but then when the kids go home with those devices that they give them, then it's sort of, okay, are these other connectivity needs being addressed? So those are kind of 2 or 3 ways that we're kind of aligning our work together.
Awesome. Well, we're at 11:58. So I think if you don't mind, we'll parking lot the other questions that we have. I can send those to you and Takiyah, and then we can send out a communication to our participants today so we get the best answers there. We don't have to rush through.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
did answer a couple of them in the chat.
Oh,
Oh, did
perfect.
you? Okay, perfect. Good. Thank you so much. Yeah, lots of great work going on across the state. I'm so proud of what we've done and where we're going. And I'm not, not just across the state of Georgia, but across the country. Many of my colleagues in various broadband teams, on various digital equity teams, are working really hard to, do the best that they can to leverage the funding received to address the digital equity needs in their state. Various states and cities, a lot of local city governments doing great work. Lake County in Illinois, LA County in California, if you Detroit, Michigan, if you want to look to some other cities or counties to learn about really what this looks like on the local level, they are some great cities to take a look at, or counties to take a look at.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to say thank you all both for joining us today and for leading such a great discussion and educating us on digital inclusion. Sounds like you've both had a really exciting and full week. Up here, I've popped a QR code that you can scan to take our feedback survey for future GovChats. If you don't mind to take a few minutes to do that, we greatly appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to Oneisha and Takiyah today for joining us. Really appreciate it. It was great getting to meet both of you and learn more about your efforts. And I also want to say thank you to our participants for the day, joining us and taking time out of what I'm sure is your busy schedules too. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.